Hello, thanks for joining me today. I'm Jan Clothier of Thinking Stamping, and I'm an independent Stampin' Up demonstrator from New Zealand. And today I thought I'd share with you this card, which is my first ever card that I've made using the new Earthen Textures bundle from the 2023 to 24 catalogue. I was kind of treating myself yesterday, so I had it sitting here and I cracked it open. And I was attracted to this set really because I'm a sucker for foliage and I love pots and I liked the font. It's a very gratitude heavy set of sentiments, but nothing wrong with that. You always need a good thank you card. And it does come with this lovely set of matching dies, which does outlines of various things, but it does lots of other extra stuff as well, and some of which we'll play with now. So the very first thing I do when I get a new stamp set is I try everything out. So here I am, I've tried out all of the stamps, and then when I've tried out all of the stamps, I try out all of the dies, and you can see that I've got these which match the foliage stamps, and then you've got sort of pots which almost but not quite match the stamped pots, and you've got all these lovely extra things, this beautiful palm leaf which you can, I think, fold up and get it 3D, and I don't know whether you can see this, but it's a lovely little impression, a die which leaves you a lovely impression. Anyway, we're not going to play with all of those things. You can have a look at them in the catalogue for yourself. But after I've done that, and I've had my play and I've tried out everything, then I have a go at making something. And so this is it. This is my first card made with this set. So I thought that I'd share with you how I did it. So first up, obviously, you need the Earthen Textures bundle. Then, what else do we have? Well, I've got a card base. I thought I'd try out some more of the new in colours because, you know, I am a bit of a sucker for those in colours. So the colours we're using today are Pebbled Path, Wild Wheat and Copper Clay. So I've got a base here of Pebbled Path. It is, as always, half a piece of A4 paper, so it's 21 centimetres that way, scored at 10.5, and I've cut it at 14.8 that way. Now, if you are not a metrics person, you're an imperial person, just use whatever your standard card size base is and just adjust accordingly. So there's my base. Now I've got a mat of wild wheat, which is half a centimetre smaller than my card front. So it's 10 centimetres that way and 14.3 that way. And again, if you are an imperial person, half a centimetre is roughly 1/4 of an inch. Okay, so that's going to mat onto that. And then I've got a piece of basic white, which is half a centimetre smaller again. Well, actually I made it slightly not quite half a centimetre, so it's actually 9.6 that way and 13.9 that way, and I did that just so that I'd get a slightly narrower border, but that's how that's going to fit together. In addition, you need a piece for the inside, so this is cut at 10 by 14.3, and that's going to be for the inside, so we'll just pop that aside. And in addition, I have got a piece of Pebbled Path, and from that I've stamped the pot. And then what I've done is I've taken the pot die, which, as I said, is almost but not quite the same size as the stamped image. So you can see here that I've stamped it out, I've die cut it out, but there's just a little rim of it left. So I quite like that because it means when you die cut it out, you don't get a plain edge, you get the pattern going all the way. Now you also need a little piece of copper clay because we're going to die cut out from copper clay and from wild wheat. We're going to cut out with those dies, and what you get is a palm leaf and a grass, and so you need a piece of copper clay and a piece of the wild wheat so that you can cut those out. And then for the sentiment, you need a little piece of white for that. Now I've used this very lovely thank you, and I've die cut that out with a different set. I've die cut that out with a die from the Gorgeously Made dies, this lovely little torn edge label. So that's where that came from, but obviously you could use any anything that fit into the text. Okay, so that's all the stuff you need. Now, if you find that you need any of these things for your craft room, any of the colours, any of the inks, or indeed the bundle itself, and you live in New Zealand, you're more than welcome to shop with me. There's a link to my online store in the video description below, and you can also get to it through the things you'll find in the social media card at the end of this video. So, most of the action happens on this piece of paper, so we'll crack on with that. The very first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to stamp on that vase. So with the pebbled path, oops, I'm going to ink it up, tap, tap, tap. You always tap your ink on rather than smash your ink in there. So tap, tap, tap. And then I'm going to give it press firmly and evenly while I count to 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So your ink's got time to transfer nicely, and there we go. I do find that this lightens up. It looks alarmingly dark at that point, but it lightens up as it dries. Now, I want to now stamp in some of this foliage. So in order to mask off the vase so that it doesn't get leaves stamped all over it, I'm going to use my old friend the post-it note. I'm just going to line that up. I've just left ever such a little sliver showing just to make sure that I get the impression that I want in there. So now I'm going to take the wild wheat, and I'm going to take this this one here. I'm going to call it Toy Toy because that's what we call it here. I'm not quite sure what it's called in other places. So I'm going to stamp it once. And I'm going to just go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And I'm going to then stamp it again without re-inking. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And I'm going to give myself that second generation impression again, just going off to a slightly different angle. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Because I want the impression that my my vase is full, so that's why I've stamped it 3 times in different generations of ink. So it gives the impression that it's sort of in behind the other. Now I'm taking the copper clay, and I am taking this one. But I want that to give the impression that it's all in behind. So what I've done is previously I have stamped that onto a post-it note, and then I've just roughly cut it out. I haven't gone into every little nook and cranny. I've just given it the general shape, and I'm going to put that over my main first impression Toy Toy, so that when I stamp, again, tap your ink on, tap, 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 and I'm going to stamp 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and I'm going to do it again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and I'm going to just tap that off a little bit, and then I'm going to go in again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay. Now I think my foliage basket. Oh, actually, I think I'm going to go back and I'm actually going to just do that one a little bit more heavily. So I'm just going to go back in there now and go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yes, that's better. Now, pop all that off to the side and peel off, and hopefully what will be revealed will be, yes, our lovely little foliage in a pot. Now, I'm going to do a little bit of joining up first before I carry on. So I'm going to attach my mat to my card front. because I like to attach these. See, this is going to get a little bit 3D, and I like to do a bit of attaching while things are still flat. Okay, so the glue gives me wiggle room. I'm nicely organised there. And now I'm just going to attach this bit too, again, because it's easier to glue and attach while it's still flat, and it's about to get a bit of dimension popped onto it. So pop that in there. Okay. Now the next thing we need to do, after just wiggled that straight, is work out where is the second pot going to go. So I think he's going to go about there. So I'm going to get my pencil and I'm just going to give myself a little mark there so I know. Now what's going to go in my pot? Well, I've got my die cut bits and bobs. You'll remember that I had a palm and a grass in each colour. However, you'll see that this one has been subject to some surgery. You see, because when I did that, I decided it was just a little bit too tall. So I have just snipped off the last couple of branches and trimmed the end shorter. There you can see the difference in what I've done there, just to make them a bit shorter. And then I have popped the grass in the back, so I think it's going to go something like this. It's going to go grass, grass, and then it's going, I'm going to reverse it over, and then it's going to be palm, palm. And I'm going to glue those on, and then I'm going to dimensional that over the top. And to do that, I'm going to use my silicone mat, my little dab of glue, and my scrap of sponge. And then we've got our lovely little sentiment, and you can see that this bit's over the dimensional pot, so I just need glue over there, but I just need a dimensional at that end to hold the end up. Oops, I just need one there and a spot of glue in the middle just to attach it. And just have it straight over there like that. Now the final thing I'm going to add in is some of these gorgeous, gorgeous in colour embellishments, which are rapidly my favourites, becoming my favourites. So we've got a few choices here. We've used 3 of these new in colours. We've used the copper clay, we've used the wild wheat, and we've used the pebbled path. Now on my original sample I used the copper clay, but I think that this time, just for a bit of difference, we will use the wild wheat and see how that looks. Of course, you could be really rogue. You could go really rogue and use some of each. Okay. Oh, I like it with the wild wheat. Looks good. What do you think? Now, the final thing is what's on the inside. I'm not going to make it now. I'll just show you what I did here. I just stamped, because I do love that pot. I think it's really pretty. So I just stamped the pot, masked it off, and put in some copper clay foliage. But obviously you could do whatever you like. I always think the inside, I say to my class people, you know, the inside's a good place to have a bit of an experiment. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed me sharing with you my very first make with the Earthen Textures bundle. Don't forget that if you live in New Zealand and you would like to own this set or any of this paper or any of this ink, or indeed even some of those gorgeous embellishments, you're more than welcome to shop with me, and there's a link to my online store underneath this video, and you're about to see some social media links at the end of the video. You can get to me there as well. Don't forget that, as always, I'm more than happy to answer questions, and you can reach me again through the links that you'll see in the video below or at the end card that follows. If you've enjoyed what you've seen and you haven't subscribed to me already, then please do so you don't miss anything new that I do. And above all else, everyone, happy stamping.